Hello students, in this session we'll start discussions with respect to the module 4. And the module 4 includes airport characteristics and airport classification, and also we'll study about how airport planning has to be done considering the objectives and the different components and various types of airport layouts can also be studied, and also the socio-economic characteristics of catchment area and criteria for the site selection as per the ICAO stipulation, and some of the typical airport layouts, parking and circulation area will be covered under the module 4. So now we all know that the airport is a location where the facility for landing and takeoff operation for aircrafts are made available. Fundamentally, the airport is the point of connectivity in the transportation system. So when we have the airport transportation, airport act as a system or end of the trips that will provide a change of mode from ground to air or air to ground respectively. So now when the airport planning is done, you have to keep it in a mind that the plan is not a very simple and it physically a form of an airport for the development, or it should also provide the stage development of the entire airport area both for aviation and non-aviation purpose, and land use adjacent to the airport while involving both financial implication and physical studies have to be done. We'll now look into the airport transport characteristics. So the airport transport has some of the characteristics which includes, so the air transportation provide the unbroken journey. So that means to say that we can have an unbroken journey over a land or sea, and it is also one of the fastest and quickest means of transportation. And air transportation provides rapidity. So we already know that air transport has a highest speed among all modes of the transportation. At the same time, the air transport is expensive, okay, compared to any other mode of the transportation, where huge investment of purchasing the aeroplane is required and construction of aerodromes, airport facilities. So you have to invest more when the air transport has to be considered. And also for operate the aircrafts, we require special preparations such as, so wheelers link, meteorological station has to be established, floodlights are required, searchlights are required by if you want to trace the aircraft. So such special operations are required and which are not essentials in other mode of transportation. So now we'll look into the what all the various types of airport classification. So now the depending upon the convenience, the airports are classified into different types. So which includes the based upon the first classification is based upon the takeoff and landing. The second classification is based upon the aircraft approach speed. Third is on function. Fourth is on based upon the geometric design, and we can also classify the airports based upon the aircraft wheel characteristics. So study one by one in detail. So the first classification is based upon the takeoff and landing. So this means to say that how much runway length is available for takeoff and landing. Depending upon that, we have the classification as, the first one is conventional takeoff and landing airport. In short, we can call it as the CTOL aircraft. So here, where the runway length, the available runway length for takeoff and landing operations will be more than 1500 meters. 1.5 kilometers of runway length will be available in the conventional takeoff and landing aircrafts. And next one is the reduced takeoff and landing airports. As the name indicates here, the length available for the takeoff and landing operation have reduced, and we have a restriction where the runway length is up to 1000 to 1500 meters, or 1 to 1.5 kilometer runway length will be available. The next one is a short takeoff and landing operation airports, where the runway length will be 500 to 100 meters, and the other one is the vertical takeoff and landing airport, so where the total operational runway operation area will be just 25 to 15 square kilometers. So now here, depending upon the land features or ground features where at the airport site, So you can just sometimes the or higher altitudes or where we have in the hill stations, it may not be possible for you to have a longer runway length. So depending upon the contour of the region and ground site conditions, you can choose any one of the runway length. So as and when the restriction increases, runway length reduces, the restrictions will be more for the pilot, and he has to carefully land or take off the aircraft wherever there is the restriction to the runway. The second classification is given by the FAA. So FAA stands for the Federal Aviation Administration Agency of a United States Department. So it has given the airport classification as per the FAA. So airport can be classified as category A, B, C, D and E. So now here the classification is based upon the aircraft approach speed. So the approach speed is given in terms of the knots, where 1 knot is equivalent to 1.852 kmph. So we can classify the airport as category A if the approach speed of aircraft is less than 91 kmph, B and 91 to 120 kmph. Similarly, for other uh, category of the airport, the FAA has given what is the limitations for the aircraft approach speed. The next classification is based upon the function. So based upon the functions, we can have civil aviation and the military aviation. So civil aviation is consists of for the operation of a public, okay. So flying of representing any non-military aviation, both for the private and the commercial, or the transportation of the goods. So within the civil aviation, we can have a domestic aircraft airports, where the airports handle only the flights within the same country. Okay, and in the domestic airports, we generally do not have the custom and immigration facilities. And the second civil aviation aircrafts are the international. And international aircrafts is an airports or the airports which customs and border control facilities are enabling passenger to travel within the or between the countries. And the second type of airports are military aviation. So where the airports are meant for military aircrafts and flying the machines for the purpose of conducting or enable the aerial warfare, including the national airlift capacity to provide logistical supply to the force sustained in the theater or along a front. So next classification is based upon the geometric design. So this classification is given by ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization. It has classified the airports into A, B, C, D, E. Okay, and now here the geometric parameters which are considered while classifying the airports includes the basic runway length and the width of the pavement and maximum longitudinal gradient provided for the runway. So when you look into that, for type A airport, so we must have the runway length more than the 2100 meters. So it is one of the conventional takeoff where the runway length is more than 1500 kilometers, 1500 meters, and width of the runway is 45 meters and the longitudinal gradient is 1.5 percentage. Similarly, the geometric parameters, elements, how it should be for various types of the elements are given by the ICAO, and from here you can note down that the maximum gradient at the for the runway provided will be restricted to 2 percentage. And next, the last classification is based upon the aircraft wheel characteristics. So depending upon the load carried by the wheels and the tire pressure for a single isolated wheel load. So we have the aircraft classified as code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different codes have been given. For example, if you want to see for the code 3, isolated wheel load will be 27,000 kg. So there's a load carried by one single wheel with a tire pressure of 7 kg per centimeter square. So these are all the various parameters how the airports can be classified. So now we'll move on to the airport planning. What is airport planning? Why it has to be done? And we also look into the different components of the airport. So airport planning is, we will do airport planning to design and plan an airport and design the facilities that are required for the runways, taxiways, and also that will also impart the knowledge regarding the visual aids, so which includes the airport markings and the lights. So now the objectives of the airport planning includes to prepare a proposed comprehensive airport standard manual for the airport, which incorporate the necessary information and regulations to the users of airport. And secondly, to prepare a compatible land use and height restriction plan, which is very essential for the aircraft operations near the vicinities, include the recommended zoning protection within the airport influence zone, and also rehabilitation and reconstruction of the airfield payments to provide a safe airport for our operations, and providing a high quality and aesthetic facilities that can be marketed for aerial tours and economic development. And also it includes the identifying the planning areas for future hangars and aviation and related businesses.